Jesus Christ, what a shit show of a fucking weekend. We'll start with the prize pool. Makapsu hit Broncos head-to-head, so that's another $7.95 added to his total and the prize pool total. Makapsu has pulled ahead, he's at $65.93, just over $10 ahead of SLM in second place. Makapsu seems to go for the head-to-head, big win, little win sort of strategy, while SLM's going for a bit more risk with the multis, so if he does hit one, he will probably overtake you, Makapsu, so make sure you keep getting those comments in and protect your lead. We have a $20 budget this week, 10 for Origin, 10 for the round of footy. So leave your comments under this video for any bet you want in Origin, and if you get it right, it gets added to the prize pool. The next milestone for the prize pool is $500, so that is a very nice amount to get for playing Supercoach. And we're at the business end of the season now, so it's time to start thinking about making some different moves. And with that, let's get into the Supercoach scores. So I got myself a 986, which is fucking shocking. I got hit with the Pappenhausen exclusion and didn't have time to get anyone in. And in my infinite wisdom, I set my remaining reserves to Origin players that got locked out as soon as their teams played, so I couldn't even play with my reserves to get in that extra number. So I was forced to take Owen Paddy's score over Ryan Pappenhausen's. If I didn't fuck up my benchings, I could have got Naf White in. I don't actually remember what he scored, hopefully something shit, so I didn't waste a trade. But yeah, this week I've had a look at the top 1K scores. In fact, let's do that now. If we just have a look at the top of this league, you can see that Jet Speed, Nathan, he's like in the top 100 still, I think, and even he scored under 1,000. There's really not many big scores. If you got a big score this week, like Dylan here, 1140, you will get a massive push forward in the rankings. If you've had a shocking week, I don't think it's going to hurt you that much this week, because as you can probably tell from the thumbnail, there were a fuck ton of Supercoach relevant injuries this week. A lot of them players that people were probably holding on to specifically for round 19, which really fucking sucks. But we'll get to those. So starting off with the Bulldogs and Broncos, Viliami Kikau, if you brought him in, you'd be pretty happy. 69 with a try isn't the best. We really thought that him cracking those attacking stats would have got him up to those ton scores. So he didn't get the line break with the try. So really, without the try, scored about a 50, which is fine. But it just would have been nice if he had the base from the last few weeks with that attacking stat on top of it. Then it would have been quite a big score. Montoya, don't think many people have him. Burton, likewise. Connor Tracy's a bit of a pod people might have. 56, yeah, sure, fine. Galvin with a 53 in 80 minutes is okay. I can't say that I'm too keen on him for the run home. I think a lot of players are going to be attracted to it because it's a mid-season transfer. It's exciting. It's Galvin. He's a talented player. But for the Bulldogs, this could age very poorly, but they don't really go and put 40 on many teams, and that's where you're going to get your big scores from Galvin. So I feel like these kind of 53s in 80 minutes seems about right. Maybe he warms into the role and starts pushing it up towards like 70s and 80s. At that point, we can look at him, but I'm not too interested for that price. The only injury for the Bulldog is the only HIA of the round, which is Jack Todd. Not super relevant, so we won't go into him too much. Ezra Mam, I didn't end up pulling the trigger on. I wish I did. That would have been juicy. So I missed out on about 40 points there because I had Wishart instead. But yeah, Ezra is really looking like a decent option. He's 537k. With that score, he'll probably go up to about 550, 560. But just having a look at his scores, a low score of 41 against Manly, a ceiling of 128, and the last 3 games look to be about 10 points, give or take, of what we can expect for an average. And he's just gone and got a 95 as well. So I think if the Broncos play round 19, I'm pretty sure they do, Broncos have the Titans. Yeah, I'm 100% getting Ezra Mam in this week. He's shown enough. He's a very talented player. As long as he doesn't go crashing a car into any children, we should be okay bringing him in. Billy Walters and Piakora both had good games. I don't think you'd want to be bringing either of them back in. Piakora, he's just been bouncing between the bench and starting. I imagine he'll be back to the bench once the Origin guns come back. And Billy Walters, yeah, he had a good game here, but I can't imagine historically he scores too well. Yeah, no. Karapani with a 56 is nice. He's making us lots and lots of money. He'll be up over 500k this week, or maybe just under 500k. I think it's going to be very important to let go of Karapani at the right time. And what I think is the right time is as soon as you can trade him to a gun. So coming into this week, he's probably got a break even of like negative 10, something like that. He's 500k. If you've got 300k in the bank and you've got one upgrade left to do down at center wing before they're all keepers, I say do it. The Origin period is coming to an end. points are king now. If you're still chasing cash, you need to have a very clear reason why you need that cash. And my squad value isn't crazy or anything. It's about 15 million. And I think I'm done generating cash. I think I'll bring Ezra Mam in this week for Wishart, give Karapani one more week to go up in price, and then flip him to a Lomax or a Val Holmes or whoever I decide to go with. There is a world where Karapani does continue to score well. In fact, let's have a look at the Broncos run home. Okay, so they have a buy in round 20, so I think the majority of people are probably going to be selling him there. The run home for the Broncos, Para, Souths, those are okay. Melbourne and Dolphins are pretty tough. Newcastle, North Queensland, and then Melbourne again. So from round 20, about half of the rounds are good matchups, and the other half are either a bye or tough matchups, although the Broncos do like to get up against the Dolphins, so maybe... Look, there's definitely an argument that you can just hold him if you're running low on trades and you keep him as like a centre wing 5 or 6. And Karapani might outscore Lomax on a week here and a week there, but I seriously doubt for the whole run home he'll outscore him because Karapani isn't going to be getting tries and doubles every week, whereas Lomax does a lot to generate points that aren't just attacking stats. And the Eels do have a fairly decent run home with no more buys left. Anyway, let's get back to it, but just don't get too married to Karapani. Make sure you let go of him at the right time. I don't think there's too much relevance left for the Broncos. As for injuries, Jesse Arthurs was ruled out pre-game with a rib injury. NRL physio is pretty confident that he should be back next week, provided that there isn't a fracture there. So if you're holding on to him, I imagine there's a lot of people that were holding on to him just for cover this round. Likewise with a few other players. Unlucky if that's you, but realistically, Jesse Arthurs should have been sold a long time ago. And Corey Jensen was also out with a calf pre-game. Moving on to the Raiders and the Dragons. We've got to talk about fucking KO Weeks. This kid is a tackle-busting, try-scoring, lightning-quick machine. He's still got that Manly DNA well and truly flowing through him. His break-even's down at 9. He's nice and cheap. He's available at 5'8", which is a boring as fuck spot. But let's have a look at his scores historically. So he has 1, 2, 3, 4, including this week, tons. But in between these tons, 30, 20, 40, 20, 50, 73 is okay. 27, 67 is okay. 30, 30, 40, 20, 30. Unless this is like a turning point and the Raiders are really going to start putting some teams to the sword and Weeks is going to get a lot of involvement, I don't like this trade in. Let's take his last month. So we'll call those two scores 50 together, 150. So he's scored about 300 points in the last month. Another fullback would only have to score 75s for a month straight to match him, and that's with 2 gigantic tons in that month for KO Weeks. So realistically, to match the score outputs of most other fullbacks averaging around 70, he needs to have 2 weeks where he explodes in a short time. And it could happen. Maybe he goes and scores tons for the rest of the season. Nobody knows, but the stats suggest that it's not a good idea. Jamal Fogarty with a 74 is very nice. He's been pretty lackluster for the last few weeks. He's dropped about 100k since I bought him. Yeah, it just wasn't the play, but really not many of the halfbacks have been exploding at the moment, so it's not too bad. He's keeping up with them nicely. Any Zach Hosking owners, you'd be happy with that. Tarpany with a 46 is actually quite good considering he went off in the 20-something minute with, I think, was an ankle complaint. So another hit for a very Supercoach relevant player. Hopefully nothing too crazy and he'll be back next week or the week after because I think the Raiders have the bye next week. Jed Stewart with a 38. This is pretty much exactly what we expected. He is just the Raiders version of Billy Smith. And then, of course, the GOAT, Owen Patty with a 12. For the Dragons, I don't think there's a whole lot of relevance here. Sloan's got shitty job security. Gutherson's been averaging fuck all for the last month. Yeah, in the last month, his average has dropped 10 points, so he's definitely on a downswing. Sione for now, kind of a cheapy option there. He's not basement. His break-even's not great. I don't really like that. Oof, any Pacific Tonga or King Togia owners, you guys took a bit of a hit this week. But yeah, we'll move on from the Dragons. Not much to talk about there. Cowboys and Storm. Drinkwater's downdated to just under a ton. He had a great game. He seems to always do pretty well against the Storm, so definitely keep that in the memory banks for next time. Nick Meaney with a huge fucking score. I didn't realize he got that high. That's crazy, and he's 400k. With this Pappenhausen injury. We don't know how serious it is, but Pappenhausen is a bit injury prone. He also hasn't been reaching the heights of previously in the season. So if he is out for a little bit, or even if he comes back and doesn't retain the goal kicking, I really like Nick Meaney as a trade-in. He'll probably be, with a score like that, with a score of 160 something, Meaney could be looking at a very low break even next week. And I've never really been that much of a fan of Meaney when he's playing centre, but if he's got the goal kicking, that might just be enough. So he hasn't been scoring very well for most of the year, since round one really is his only kind of ceiling score. But if he keeps the goal kicking, I think Storm are really going to start to heat up. They were missing Pappenhausen and Grant in this game, so maybe that's allowed Meaney to get a few more points, and maybe he'll regress a bit when they come back. Maybe it's a little bit of a wait and see on this one. Eli Katoa with a 68. I thought he would have done better than that with that first try. Likewise with Jerome Hughes for the first try assist. Or I think Wishart got the first try assist, actually. But yeah, I'm happy with the 43 from Wishy. This round is pretty much the only reason I've had him in my team for the past couple of months. He's done his job. I think I'm going to move him to Ezra Mam next week. That's another thing with Ezra Mam. I think with KO Weeks going crazy and getting a huge score, I think people are going to gravitate towards that trade more than the Ezra Mam trade, which makes Ezra Mam a little bit more potty. So I quite like that. And I think that's all to talk about for this game. As for injuries, just going back to the previous game, for Tyler Mariner and Hame Sele were both out pre-game. Not very Supercoach relevant. For the Storm, obviously, Pappenhausen with a calf pre-game, Murray Tuolungi with a knee pre-game, and then Sam McIntyre with a calf. So thankfully, only Pappenhausen is the most Supercoach relevant one there. But don't you worry, there's more to come. Roosters Tigers. Oh, shit. Sorry if you weren't able to see the table before. Hopefully it hasn't been like that for too long. For the second time in the bye rounds, Nawaka Nitawasi has saved my fucking ass. Without him, I'd be looking at about a score of like a 900, and I'd be dropping even more ranks than I'm about to. He might be my best trade-in of the year. I got him in round 12, and he has been rock solid for me ever since. He will be staying right there in my team. Nafahu White did end up getting a good score. That really hurts. That means if I wasn't a dickhead and reserved my nuffs instead of my Origin players, I could have made some moves, got him in, and been looking at green arrows this week. But lesson learned there. James Tedesco with a 77 is fine. If he didn't get that try at the end of the game, that would have also really hurt my week. A try to Savala was also very lucky as well. So this week definitely could have been much, much worse for me. And I'm sure it was much, much worse for a lot of people. Sandon Smith with a 38 is pretty lackluster, but I don't have him, so I don't care. That's about it for the Roosters. Injuries for them are Billy Smith with a knee pre-game, another Origin player that you may have been holding on to specifically for this week. For the Tigers, Terrell May with a 94. Beautiful stuff from him. Probably should have gone with the captain on him in hindsight. And realistically, are we looking at anyone else? Latu Fainu at 5'8". He's another option that's a bit cheaper than Ezra Mam, but I want the points. I'm not in it for the cash. And then we also have Tristan Hope at hooker, who is basement price. He'll have a negative break even next week. This is his second game of the season, so next week his price will change. And he's averaging about 50. But with Coruscant there, not an option. And that's it for the Tigers. Let's move on to the Seagulls Rabbitohs. We're finally back in winning ways. First time we've had back-to-back wins since round 3, I think the stat is. And there's a fair bit to talk about here. Manly actually looked like they were playing as a team again, and it wasn't just a handful of players giving it their all. This was a Rabbitohs side without Latrell Mitchell, Cody Walker, so not a whole lot you can take from it, but you can only play what's in front of you. Ruben Garrick with an 107. He was the second most captain player in the top 1% at about, I want to say 20%. So well done if that was you. Majority of people went Teddy. Tom Trbojevic with an 123 from centre. He's really starting to move freely and confidently again. He's taking some huge shots at centre and he's getting through them, so that's a good sign. His body's holding up there. I don't think it's going to be long before he gets moved to fullback again. And I think a lot of people are going to be trading him in this week with the news of Pappenhausen, and with Pappenhausen just being a bit lackluster lately, I think people are going to be looking to move him on. I don't know if I'd want to do it with Turbo. They have the bye next week, so it is a next week trade. And then for the run home, Manly have quite a tough run. Melbourne, Bulldogs, Roosters, Canberra. That is tough. I reckon we wait and see, and if he comes out and gets a good score against Melbourne, then we can bring him in. Or alternatively, if he's not doing too well again in these harder matchups, we can bring him in for the West, Dolphins, St George and New Zealand. I quite like that at the end. And it is Turbo. If he's fit and firing, he can get big scores against these big teams. And this year, Manly seem to do better against the good teams than lose to the shitters. So definitely keeping an eye on him. Cherry Evans finally having a decent game, 82. Tolu Kola, one of our best this year. Lehigh Hopewadi with a 58. I've been saying it. He's not it at fullback. Let's have a look how owned he is. 10% of teams. I'm pretty sure a lot of the top 1% got on him. But Turbo's looking good. He may shift back to the wing and Turbo back to fullback. If that happens, then I think he's a keep. Although he does have quite a big break even, and Manly are coming into the buy, so I think a lot of people will be selling him. For the Rabbitohs, Alex Johnston with an 106. An 106 with 2 try assists, 18 points in tackle busts, a line break, 2 line assists, 27 in runs. What a fucking game from him. I think the ship's probably sailed on Johnston. He's 600k. It's a little bit much for someone I'd want to get in who is rocks or diamonds, but can score a lot of tries. So if you're a risky player, then sure, have a go, but I won't be doing it. Keon with a 67, that's fine. And realistically, not too much else to touch on here from the Rabbitohs. Injuries for this game. Ewan Aitken out with a leg pre-game. Brandon Smith's knee is gone again because Matt Lodge hit dropped him. Didn't even get a penalty during the game, but I think Lodge could have some weeks on the sideline, and our thinning forward pack is getting even thinner. Jason Saab did an ankle this game, and Liam LeBlanc with back spasms. So for a week with only 5 games, a lot has happened. I'll say again, don't be too discouraged if you had a shit week this week. I think most people did. I've seen on Facebook that par score seems to be about 1100 and 1200's a good week. Not a chance. I reckon par is 1050. I would be happy with a 1050. I feel like I'd maybe lose a little bit of ranks, but nothing crazy. I think anything over 1050, you could see greens. But if you are in the 900s, I really don't think it's going to hurt you too much this week. But I could be wrong. We'll see tomorrow. Anyway, that's the major buys done. Thank fucking Christ. Don't forget to leave your origin bets in the comments, and I'll see you tomorrow for the teams list. Ooh-roo.